So in the last couple of months, I've been trying to spread the word that Brie Larson is getting phased out of the MCU, and today we have some new evidence pointing towards Brie Larson getting phased out of the MCU, pointing towards Kevin Feige being just finished with Brie Larson, with her antics outside of the MCU, outside of the actual movies, and the fan backlash towards Brie Larson, and how they know that, Captain Marvel 2, which is now The Marvels, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is not being focused around Captain Marvel because they know that the movie is going to flop if they name it Captain Marvel 2, because no one likes Captain Marvel, no one likes Brie Larson, and I know all the Brie Larson simps are going to be in the comments of this video saying, actually, I love Brie Larson, and they're probably going to make multiple accounts and say how much they love Brie Larson on every single one of them, and they're probably going to clip this and put it on Twitter and try to cancel me, but no one cares, man. I don't cancel me. I don't care. You're only going to make my channel grow more if you try to cancel me. You only get canceled if you apologize or if you actually put any stake in cancel culture. I try to defend people like Gina Carano and all these other people who get canceled truly out of Hollywood because they actually have something to lose. But when it comes to this YouTube channel, I have a pretty small YouTube channel. It's decently big. I'm proud of what I've built, but I'm not going to lose it because of a couple of Brie Larson simps on Twitter. That's just not going to happen. YouTube's not going to take me down, so I don't care. Bring it on. Let's go. I'm down to go to war on Twitter. I love it, in fact. I love going after these Brie Larson simps on Twitter. But anyway, back to Brie Larson being phased out of the MCU. I definitely think it's going to happen, and regardless of what these Brie Larson simps trying to say, they're going to try to, spread the certain narrative that she's actually taking over the MCU and all this other stuff. But in this video, I have something from Kevin Feige's mouth that directly contradicts that. Let's check out what we're going to be talking about today. Kevin Feige says Doctor Strange is the MCU's new anchor. Now, this is very interesting because in the past, he has said that Brie Larson or Captain Marvel is the MCU's new anchor, and we'll go over that in 1 second. But he definitely had a quote. He was quoted saying that Brie Larson will lead us into the future, that Captain Marvel will lead us into the future of the MCU, and now he's saying Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange will be the anchor going forward. Let's check out the direct quote, though. I believe it's somewhere in here. I think this is it right here. Benedict has turned his character into an icon, appearing in historic 3 of the top 6 films of all time. It's been quite a journey. I remember our very first meeting was set up as a general, and we wanted to pitch him the great character, and before we could, he said, so tell me about Doctor Strange, because somewhere you knew what this could be, and you've always seen the tremendous potential in the character. Because of that, you've become the anchor of the MCU and the only actor capable of guiding us through the madness of the multiverse. So if you've been paying attention to the MCU at all, if you've been watching the Disney Plus shows with Loki, and you've been watching, the new Spider-Man movie, hopefully you've seen a decent amount, and hopefully you know what's going on with the MCU, because I might get a little bit spoilery, but not too much in this video. But pretty much we all know that they're going towards the multiverse stuff. They're going to be bringing in the X-Men and probably the Fantastic Four through this multiverse stuff. And they also introduced Kang and Loki, and all that's probably going to play into the multiverse. Not probably, it's going to play into the multiverse, and I'm sure Kang will be somewhat of a Thanos figure when it comes to the multiverse. And that means that the MCU going forward, these next few phases of the MCU, maybe the next 3-4 phases of the MCU, are going to be multiverse oriented. And if Kevin Feige is saying that it's not going to be Brie Larson, in fact, it's going to be Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, that's going to lead us forward and be the anchor of the MCU and the only actor capable of guiding us through the madness of the multiverse, that means this entire next few phases of the MCU is going to be about Doctor Strange. He's going to be the centerpiece. He's going to be the anchor, which is crazy because Marvel has been on this diversity and inclusion kick, and it just so happens that every movie that they put out that's centered around diversity and inclusion doesn't do as well as stuff like Spider-Man, which just is trying to tell a good story. It's just trying to, for one, have a good story, but for two, also give us that nostalgia. Give us what we want. Give us the fan service, even though sometimes Marvel fan service can be a little bit over the top. I felt like it was just right in the newest Spider-Man movie, and I think that if you give us a good, compelling story, which the Spider-Man movie definitely did, with certain people dying and just heavy events happening, and very much a lot of symbolism in there that meant a lot to a lot of the fans, not just the cameos, but also things that happened with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. There was some powerful, heavy stuff in there, and then you add in the cameos, and then you add in all the nostalgia and stuff like that. It just makes for a perfect movie. Whereas with, I don't know, The Eternals or Shang-Chi or Black Widow or Falcon and Winter Soldier, that stuff wasn't that successful because it was more focused on diversity and inclusion than it was telling a good story. You start the idea off with, let's do this because it has a lot of different characters, it has a lot of diversity in it, it has a lot of inclusion. And then you're like, how can we tell a story around this diversity and inclusion instead of having the story set and then just casting the best people for the best roles? That's how you tell a good story. And then you see the Eternals flop. You see Shang-Chi, everybody's saying that it had so much success at the box office. Shang-Chi broke even at best. It didn't make money. It broke even at best. And go look up any box office expert. They'll say the same thing unless they're a Disney show. And it's obvious to tell which ones are true box office experts and which ones aren't. This one from Cinema Blend says Captain Marvel will lead the MCU, Kevin Feige said. And I know this might sound strange because I just said that Doctor Strange is going to be the one leading the MCU into the future. Kevin Feige just said in the last quote that it was going to be Doctor Strange. Well, look at the date of this article, March 16th of 2019. So back in 2019, back when this diversity and inclusion stuff first started kicking off, back when they just got on their kick of the diversity and inclusion, Kevin Feige thought that Brie Larson would be the leader of the MCU, that she would be the anchor of the MCU. And then he saw that the movie was actually going to fail. The new Captain Marvel movie, Captain Marvel 2, would have failed if it was named Captain Marvel 2, and it probably still will fail even though it's not named Captain Marvel 2 anymore. As long as Brie Larson's involved, as long as Brie Larson is the main character of a movie, I think it's going to fail because a lot of people just simply refuse to see it because it's Brie Larson, and a lot of people just don't really care about Brie Larson too much. They don't really care about Captain Marvel too much because it's a boring character, and the first movie proved that, and so did Endgame. But yeah, back in 2019, Kevin Feige thought that Brie Larson would be the leader of the MCU going forward. He realized that that was a failed philosophy for the future of the MCU. It was going to fail if you continue to use that philosophy of putting diversity and inclusion over good storytelling. Now he's moving away from Captain Marvel. He's moving away from Brie Larson being the anchor or the leader of the MCU going forward. And he's choosing Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. And I don't think he's choosing him because he's a white male like a lot of people out there are going to say. I truly just believe that he's the most compelling character right now. He makes the most sense for going into the multiverse of madness, for navigating the multiverse of madness, for being the one to take down Kang. I just think he's the best one. He's the best one in universe. He's a really good actor out of universe. I just think it makes the most sense. And obviously Brie Larson, she probably could just go up to Kang and flick him and he'll be dead. But that would be not a very compelling story. So it sucks that they made the character that boring, but it is what it is at this point. You already ruined Captain Marvel. Maybe they could save it in the future. But you'll never save Brie Larson. She will always be Brie Larson. She will always be hated by most Marvel fans, by most people who have ever seen her in an interview, interact with other actors, interact with fans, whatever it is. She's hated by a lot of people. I would say most people, other than those Brie Larson simps that I'm sure will be in the comments, and I'm sure will be clipping this video and putting it on Twitter. I can't wait to troll the trolls. I love doing that. But anyway, here's another quote from Kevin Feige about Brie Larson. When we found out that Brie Larson might be interested in joining our world, we had a number of meetings. She was a huge fan of the character in the comics. One of the highlights of my career at Marvel was introducing her at Comic-Con and having her come out on stage and stand there with literally almost everybody else from our movies. There, she was great at the forefront, and it was a great foreshadowing, not just for how audiences are going to embrace Brie as a character, but also how Captain Marvel is about to take the lead and be the forefront of the cinematic universe. So that was a lie. That pretty much that entire statement was a lie, not just for how audiences are going to embrace Brie as a character. No one embraced Brie Larson. Very few people embraced Brie Larson. And then also for how Captain Marvel is about to take the lead and be at the forefront of the MCU. That wasn't very long. You know, she was at the forefront for her movie and then Endgame, and that's about it. You know, she hasn't been at the forefront since, and she won't be in the future, according to Kevin Feige himself. Also, like I said, Captain Marvel 2 is not about Brie Larson. They changed it from Captain Marvel 2 to the Marvels, you know, for obvious reasons. I think we can all agree that this is because of Brie Larson, because also something to do with the Captain Marvel character as well. She's just too OP. She's a boring character. It's a Mary Sue. It's the same thing with Rey, but I think 10 times worse than Rey because we don't know anything about her. We didn't see much of her struggle. She just came into Endgame and she was able to defeat Thanos in hand-to-hand combat for the first time. You know, the first time that we've ever seen that from a MCU character. I guess Thor kind of beat him, but then he lost because he didn't go for the head in Infinity War. But we've seen the struggles of Thor. You know, it would have been a good story to have Thor defeat Thanos. That would have been cool. But no, they needed Captain Marvel. They needed Brie Larson to defeat him. And, you know, she defeated him twice in hand-to-hand combat in the same movie. And that's just not a compelling story. It's not fun. We don't like Brie Larson. We don't like Captain Marvel. And that's why the second Captain Marvel movie is changed to the Marvels, and that's why Brie Larson is being phased out of the MCU. Let me know what you guys think about the whole situation. What do you think about Brie Larson being phased out? What do you think about Kevin Feige saying Doctor Strange is the anchor of the MCU going forward and not Captain Marvel? Let me know what you think of the whole situation. If you did enjoy the video, though, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter, the link to that will be in the description as well. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.